police went into the Al-Aqsa mosque to arrest some rioters, and some violent clashes ensued. In response, Gaza shot 16 rockets at Israel. I'm Justin, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Welcome back to the show, guys. It's good to be back with you here today. First off, I want to say happy Passover. Tonight starts the festival of Passover here in Israel, so everyone's getting ready for that. Everything is really exciting in preparation for the holiday of Passover. As always, make sure to subscribe to our channel, like and share our content all across social media, all across where you are. And make sure to go follow us on our other social media platforms on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're on all those. Go check us out there. Give us a follow there. So there has been some, let's just say, craziness going on the Temple Mount recently. You may have heard some in the news. If you've been on Twitter at all, you would see some of the craziness, because that is the home of all craziness, is Twitter. You would see a lot of what has been going on. So you may have heard things like the Israeli police stormed the Al-Aqsa mosque and just mercilessly beat and arrested hundreds of peaceful Muslim worshippers who were in the middle of their prayers, and the Israeli police just burst in the doors, came in and arrested and beat them. And there's pictures of like hundreds of worshippers on their backs, zip ties behind their hands, or zip ties over their hands. And that is a lot of what is going on or going around online. I'm going to try to explain to you what actually happened on the Temple Mount. So as you guys know, we are in the middle of the Muslim holiday of Ramadan right now. The most holy, or the biggest holiday in Islam. We're in the middle of that. I don't know. To me, it seems like the Muslims are always extra violent during Ramadan, maybe because they're hungry, because they're fasting during the day. Being hungry makes you mad, makes you angry. I know. But for the last month, the Muslims have had almost unlimited access to the Temple Mount because of Ramadan. The police have let them on the Temple Mount. There have been hundreds of thousands of Muslims going up every single day to pray at the Temple Mount, and every night they leave the Al-Aqsa mosque, and it's always peaceful. But last night was a little bit different. As usual, thousands of Muslim worshippers left the Al-Aqsa mosque, but some rowdy youths and some guys decided to stay behind to see if they could camp out in the Al-Aqsa mosque to cause disruptions. They gathered a bunch of fireworks. They barricaded themselves inside the Al-Aqsa mosque. They locked the doors. They wanted to cause violent disruptions like the next morning for the worshipers. And the police had the job of removing them from the Al-Aqsa mosque. So first off, the police, they tried for hours to convince these guys who locked themselves inside the Al-Aqsa mosque. No, the police were not holding them hostage in there, as some people will most likely say. But they tried their best to negotiate with these rioters. I'm going to call them. They tried their best to negotiate with them to ask them to come out, but it was all in vain. So the police were forced to enter the Al-Aqsa mosque to evict these rioters. As the police came into the Al-Aqsa mosque, they broke open the doors. As they were going into the Al-Aqsa mosque, the Arabs started firing fireworks, started throwing rocks, throwing chairs. Everything was crazy. Chaos inside the mosque, absolute mayhem. They were throwing all kinds of things, firing fireworks at the police, and yes, there was a big fight that happened between the police and these Muslims. And there's a lot of videos going around online saying, look at the police beating these worshipers. But it was not one-sided. This was a fight that was going on. And according to Palestinian Arab reports, 45 people were injured. We don't know exactly if that's the right number. Just check out this video I saw on Twitter. Like, this is insane. Look at the firework. If they care so much about this holy Al-Aqsa mosque, why are they firing off fireworks inside of the mosque? I want to read you the official statement from the police about this whole operation, you could call it, because I think it'll clear up the waters, because there's a lot of fake news going around online. We're going to get into more of that in just a minute, but I want to read you this official statement from the police to clear up anything that you don't understand. So they said this, quote, "Tonight, while the police acted as usual in the evening to allow many Muslims to mark the month of Ramadan and arrive safely in the old city of Jerusalem in the Temple Mount for the evening prayers, dozens of law-breaking youths and masked people put fireworks, sticks, and stones into the mosque and fortified it violently hours after the Ta'tafit's prayer in order to violate the order on the spot while desecrating the mosque. In addition, they started chanting incitement and rioting inside the mosque and locked its doors from the inside with obstacles and fortifications in the doorways. After many and prolonged attempts to get them out by talking to no avail, the police forces had to enter the compound in order to get them out, in order to allow the fire prayers as a series and to prevent a violent disturbance. During the entry of the forces, stones were thrown at them and many fireworks were fired inside the mosque by dozens of lawbreakers and troublemakers. The police arrested dozens of suspects who fortified themselves, rioted, threw stones, shot fireworks, and desecrated the mosque." So, as you see, the police were not going in. They were not breaking up a prayer service by going in and just arresting and beating innocent Muslim worshipers. They went in to restore order from the chaos that was happening. And when they went in, the Arabs attacked them and the police arrested a bunch of them. It's as simple as that. Of course, after this operation, the Twitter mob, you can call it, went absolutely crazy. I saw so many tweets talking about the occupied forces, the apartheid forces going in and beating these innocent Muslims. Here's one from Mohammed Shahada. He said this: "Ramadan is meant to be the year's most peaceful and holiest month. Israel's Magav police couldn't help but go on a full rampage tonight and assault worshippers at Al-Aqsa to empty the mosque by force." Yeah, the police just couldn't help themselves. They just felt this urge to go in and beat innocent protesters. No, absolutely not. No, there were tons of tweets like this. Also, this one from another guy. He said, quote, "Like clockwork, Israeli occupation forces who are illegally present in East Jerusalem," false, "mark every Ramadan by breaking into the single holiest site for Muslims in Palestine and brutalizing Palestinian worshippers. This army is funded by U.S. taxpayers with nearly $4 billion a year." Also, other news medias, they slammed Israel for this. Al Jazeera said this, quote, "Israeli police attack worshippers in Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa mosque." Yeah, out of context. A lot out of context. Also, CNN had to chime in. You know, they can stay out of any chance to bash Israel for something. They had to jump on the bandwagon of bashing Israel. They said, quote, "Israeli police clashed with Palestinians inside the Al-Aqsa mosque in Jerusalem's Old City early on Wednesday, just days after a Palestinian man was killed outside the holy site." That is absolutely crazy, guys. This man that they're talking about that was killed, it just makes it sound like a man was either accidentally killed or he was killed by Israeli forces. But this man that was killed, he was a terrorist who stole a police officer's gun and tried to shoot police officers standing around. And it was a miracle that no one was injured. The police officer was able to take his gun back and neutralize this terrorist. This was the man that was killed that CNN is talking about right here. Absolute ridiculous. The holiday of Passover celebrates the redemption of the Jewish people from slavery. But if Israel's needy are struggling to put food on the table, how will they celebrate Passover, the festival of freedom? It's difficult to be free if you're hungry. There are over 2.6 million Israelis living in poverty. Almost 1.2 million of them are children, representing 38% of all children in Israel. Mayor Panim runs multiple programs to help Israel's needy, including restaurant-style soup kitchens, a dignified alternative to traditional soup kitchens, providing warm meals to impoverished Israelis in a comfortable dining setting. But many struggling Israelis can't take time off their multiple jobs in order to pick up food from one of the 5 branches across Israel. To ensure that families, especially children, do not go hungry, Mayor Panim distributes monthly grocery packages to families who need it most. This Passover, you can give Israel's needy the freedom they have been longing for by donating monthly grocery packages. Donate now and help Israel's hungry taste freedom. Link is in the description below. In response to these clashes on the Temple Mount, or they're saying it's in response, at least 16 rockets were fired from Gaza at Israel. Not sure exactly which terrorist organization it was. Probably Hamas, who fired these rockets at Israel. But 16 rockets were fired at Israel. And you think this is a justified response? Okay, rioters were arrested on the Temple Mount. Let's fire 16 rockets at Israel. No, absolutely not. This isn't even necessarily in response. The terrorist organizations, they're just waiting for some kind of excuse to be able to fire rockets at Israel. So sirens were sounded early this morning in the towns of Gevim, Ebim, Nir Am, and Sapir College. And then about 20 minutes later, sirens were also sounded in the Sha'ar HaNegev Regional Council. I saw this video on Twitter. You can see here that one of the rockets that were fired landed near a factory. There were no injuries, but the factory did sustain damage. It's actually kind of a miracle here because you can see in this video, all the factory workers running into the bomb shelter. And then it's just seconds later that you can see like smoke rising out of there. So a lot of people could have been injured if they hadn't have gotten to this bomb shelter in time. The IDF spokesperson's unit said that in the first barrage, 5 launches from the Gaza Strip into Israeli territory were detected. 4 were intercepted by the air defense fighters. And then in the second barrage, 4 additional launches from the Gaza Strip into Israeli territory were detected and fell in open areas. Also, another rocket exploded in an empty field near a kibbutz. Of course, as always, the IDF retaliated. They attacked targets in the Gaza Strip in response to this rocket fire. There's no details from the IDF yet on what targets they were targeting or any footage yet from these attacks. Thankfully, guys, no one was injured in these attacks, in these rocket attacks. But continue to pray for Israel, for the safety of Israel. Israel's going through a rough time right now, so continue to pray. Show your support for Israel. Guys, in conclusion, there's craziness on the Temple Mount. And the craziness is that when Muslims on the Temple Mount get extremely violent, start shooting fireworks and throwing stones and rocks and chairs, and they're called peaceful worshipers by the rest of the world. And when peaceful Jews go up on the Temple Mount just to visit the Temple Mount, they're not allowed to pray, by the way. That is what the status quo is. They're not allowed to pray on the Temple Mount. When they peacefully go up to visit the holiest site in Judaism, they are accused of storming the Al-Aqsa mosque compound, as you can see in this video right here. So guys, don't believe the lies of the mainstream media, of the rest of the world that are telling you that the police are just going in and mercilessly beating innocent Muslim worshippers and that Israeli settlers are storming the Al-Aqsa mosque. Make sure to subscribe, get the conversation going down below, and as always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back every Monday through Friday with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.